because of the current financial situation of Heber Council. That's a point of information.
That's a point of information, but what are you trying to prove?
I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just saying because we have responsibility for the budget, because we try to approve a tentative budget, I am wondering, with the mayor as chairman of the board, has any information right now? What's wrong with asking this question? Do you have any information on whether or not dividends are going to be compromised, changed? You do? Could you? Oh, thank you. Now, second point of information. How much do you think that's going to affect our budget?
As currently at the next quarter, there will be dividends paid to the city. Next quarter, I cannot tell you at this point, there will be dividends paid out.
So did we receive that last payment, Mark? $56,000?
No, I don't know if the payments came in each time yet.
This is all I'm trying to get information. This affects us as a city.
Approve them every
because you have had other meetings without including the board of directors in total.
Okay.
I'm asking.
Now look. Other meetings of other staff.
I'm trying to just ask information. Do you know? Can you please tell us how the Heber Power dividends are going to affect the city budget? Do you have any information about that right now?
I just told you. I said
you say
dividends
yes.
will be there. That's what the accountant said. The money is available to pass it, but the board has to go back again and say, you want to approve the dividend or not? Let's go back to the board.
Of course.
Approve.
But see, I think you have more knowledge than I do, and I'm trying to find it out because it's going to affect our city. So you're saying the dividends are going to be here for maybe the July payment, nobody knows if it's been paid. And then you're saying for the next quarter and the next quarter, or just the first?
Okay, let me put this back one more time. There has been enough money in the budget to pay this coming quarter's dividend. But there has to be approved by the people like our board to release it or not. There is the money there.
So the money's there, but the board hasn't had a chance to
next
approve it.
quarter, you'll have the financial facility of the company. If the money is there, they'll transfer, but that's still up in the air if the last quarter will be there or not.
Well, I'm sorry that that question disturbed you so, but that's all the information I was trying to find. Thank you.
Well, the roundabout way to do it.
And just to clarify, I feel that there is a sense that this resolution 13 is trying to bind Heber Power, trying to restrict their activities, trying to make them obligated to do anything. That is not the case. The premise of this, to give a little context, it came about because in talking with our city manager, there was a sense of discomfort that he had in providing any recommendations or any kind of consulting as to possible things that could happen at Heber Power. And it's very unfortunate when we have a very skilled person who works for the city, who's educated in this field, that he feels uncomfortable that he couldn't give recommendations or advice that could be passed to our board members to the Heber Power. So this is only designed so that he has protection and knowledge that he can give and say whatever he wants without any political recourse, without any ramifications to his position. He has the right to look at those books if they're even presented to him. He has the right to look at their policies if they're even presented to him. It does not say Mark can go knock on their door and say, give me your books. That's not what this says. It's only saying he has protection to give advice, to give recommendations, if it's solicited from Heber City Council. That's all.
So it's just author, may I, Mayor? It's just author, it's Heber City giving authorization to whomever, in this case, Mark, to, hey, you have our stamp of approval to go, and if they do give the books, to review that. He's our agent, he's our authorized agent to review and give recommendations.
Because if House Bill 17 is enacted, there's going to have to be a greater level of communication between these outside entities and the city. And the expertise from our city manager is going to be invaluable. And he should not feel that his job is threatened because he's giving advice in a politically diverse environment.
Gotcha.
That's all it's saying.
Let me make a suggestion to you. You know, if you put this resolution before we run the city council, it would be my recommendation to go from people like our board and say, look, this is what we mean, this is what it's supposed to say. Interpretation, I'm going to say, look, this is what we'd like to do, at least let them be aware of this. Instead of putting a resolution in front of them, misunderstanding what your intentions are, what it's a better way to do it. That's what
I think ideally that would be the case. But because the last 2-3 years have created such a hostile environment publicly with what's going on at Heber Light and Power, with the things that are being said. I personally, I am not in a position where I have confidence enough to sit there and wait for Heber Light and Power Board to make a decision like this. This completely falls under the umbrella of the city. Heber Light and Power has absolutely no say about this resolution, and vice versa. We have no say about Heber Light and Power. I respectfully disagree. This is a proactive attempt so that we can prepare ourselves and make our resources available, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is give them the tools to succeed. That is it. Because heaven knows the last 2 years there's been a lot of problems. And I'm not going to sit back and wait for them to decide if they're going to even agree with this. I'm done. I'm saying, let's do this proactively.
You're making comments and things that doesn't apply to the company. You have two instances in there, and you're blaming the company. You're blaming all the general management and all the employees.
I understand that there are very unfortunate incidences. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying, as a state of the company, there are things happening over there regardless of their nature. Regardless. All I know is that for the entire time I've been in this position, the one issue that keeps coming up over and over again is what's going on with Heber Light and Power. And to be honest, I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of not being able to give adequate responses to the constituents who have put me into office. I'm tired of constantly saying, well, you know, it's really not their fault, and dismissing things which justifiably need an answer. And I'm not even suggesting that there was anything going on. This has nothing to do with that. This is simply an attempt to be proactive and say, you know what, if we have a tool, if we have a resource that can help another entity, no matter who it is, Heber Light Power, the sewer, it doesn't matter. If we have a tool that we recognize can help them succeed, why not give that person all the authority and rights he would need so he could be a valuable tool?
So why do you have to put a resolution in place?
Because for whatever reason, even the fact we're having this conversation points to a problem, that there is a disagreement that he shouldn't even be involved. That shouldn't even be an issue. If we are transparent, if we are truly looking out for the best interests of the people, then why is this even an issue? If there's nothing going on with Heber Light Power, great. Why is this an issue? Why does it matter if our city manager...
You're telling me that Heber Light Power is not transparent. You're telling me a lot of problems within the company.
I did not say that. I said, if that isn't the case, then why is this an issue? I agree. If they're transparent, great. This shouldn't be an issue. They should welcome with open arms every help they can get to be a better... Any company would be.
They are open arms, right? They're willing for...
Then this shouldn't be an issue.
But you don't have to put a resolution forcing them to do so.
Then I, as a director on that board, could go to the city manager and say, look at this information. Then he could tell me his opinion, and I could go back and say, here's what I think. And it would just help us as directors to have another set of eyes to look at information and give us his input. I think it would be very valuable. And we need honest opinions. We don't need opinions that Mark has to walk this line to not try to offend anyone. This is a resolution that will allow him, for this time period, to be honest with us and use his expertise and skills and say, you know what, there's better ways to do this, more efficient ways to do this. Here's some recommendations that I believe can really help.
And if Heber Light Power is mandated to adopt government ordinances and resolutions for whatever this House Bill 17 dictates, they're going to need his expertise. So why not put in place a foundation that allows that to be successful?
They already have the people in place.
And great, and this resolution shouldn't be a problem. They should be reaching out to Mark on a frequent basis to allow the input from our city.
You can ask Mr. Anderson if you've got the time to be able to do so.
Well, part of my reservations in wanting to make recommendations is not having full understanding of the decisions that have been made in the past and their operations now. So it's easy to make observations, but without some research, you may not understand the logic behind them. And so, and certainly, an ideal role of the board and the management should work through these issues without having outside.
How can we really be outside when we own 75% of the company?
There's an organization agreement put in place, and Heber City, Midway, Charleston was all provided by agreement.
It's chicken and egg. What came first? The city.
Chicken and egg.
What came second?
Yeah, you don't
Heber
know.
Light
That's
Power.
what it is. You don't know.
Heber Light Power exists because the city citizens voted for it, bonded for it, and have agreed to this government monopoly.
But they have a partnership with 2 other cities.
We're still 75%.
I don't think they'll say.
Well, and I don't want, this resolution isn't intended to start pointing out any fallacies or anything that may have happened in the past. That's not the intent of what this resolution is trying to accomplish. It's simply trying to accomplish that we have a resource, we have something which could help them be more successful. That's all it's saying. We recognize.
So one just present what he just said to me, to the board, and say, look, this is what I do. This is what to me like skip it to them and say.
If the board feels to interpret it that way, that's their discretion. And I love to.
Exactly how you look at it. Just you apply and slip. This is what I do. You want to do.
The only reason I can think why you think that way, or why the board would feel that way, is if they feel like there's things that they shouldn't be discovered. Because otherwise, I can't see any justifiable
There's
reason
nothing in that company.
why they would respond that way.
There's nothing there to hide. You can move it.
Fine, I agree, that's fine. I'm not saying there is or isn't. I'm
Just
just
look in the closet. They're not there.
No, we're looking for ways to implement House Bill 17 and to be proactive.
House Bill 17 that might even come into effect until May of next year.
Which is going to come very quickly.
Well, yes, and so you should not be forcing something on it. It's not even.
Can we please understand where nothing's forcing anybody to do anything? This is not forcing anything.
If you read it, yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It might help mitigate the need for a rate increase if we can look at more ways to be efficient, and that's what we're looking for. Because I don't want to raise rates on people unless I know that everything's in order, and I've seen a few things that I didn't know were in order. So I want someone who's an expert to give us some more information besides what I get in those meetings. That's all I think.
What's not in order?
Well, when you spend a lot of money on things that I've never seen in any other government agency, I think, wow, why are we spending this much money on things like coffee and pictures and travel and, benefits that are unheard of? That's what's not in order to me. So I think if we can get some information
Right, and there is that
well, it sounds like
fact,
government.
there is that fact that over $500,000 in the unfunded termination benefits that really is against the law. And yet current management has allowed that to happen. And, these are things that are serious. They affect the bottom line and will affect our city budget in the future because those unfunded termination benefits as well as the unfunded OPEB benefits just at Heber Power are going to, I'm not done yet, they are going to affect perhaps the dividends that are coming to this city budget. And as Eric is saying, the whole intent of this is to say, wait a minute, we need an independent set of eyes to go in there with expertise and say, you know what? This is a way to fix this. This is another way to fix this. It gives us an expert opinion that has been doing these same things for our city in a transparent way, trying to be as efficient as possible for our city, to give us as directors to also make presentations there if needed to say, look, these are ways that we can improve things. I mean, this is about improvement.
The only only comment I'd like to make what Heidi said is once again just clarify, to do all that with the consent of Heber Power. Because we won't be able to get anything, we won't be able to see anything without their consent. So if they do, and if they're willing to show, and they're willing to provide, and if they're soliciting help, there's no reason why Mark should not feel completely willing and completely able to give whatever advice he feels necessary.
But they just had an audit by a company, extensive, deep audit from one end to the other. I mean, they go far. I appreciate Mark's ability. They went far deeper and more intense and detailed than Mark would ever have time to be able to do.
We're not suggesting that they do an audit, but that's not what this is saying.
Well, the
That's
purpose of
basically
the
right. It's already been audited.
I'm not saying
There's
they're not.
nothing left to come out.
You have to look at the purpose of the audit, and the audit was to confirm the numbers that were given to them by management. It wasn't to give me some, their purpose wasn't even to say whether the internal controls were even adequate. They just mentioned the ones that they ran into. They didn't give an audit as far as cost savings. It was just to say, yeah, the information they gave us adds up. That was kind of basically what the disclaimer was in the audit.
Right, and they continue to want thousands of more dollars, tens of thousands of more dollars to come in and try to help us with further financial controls. That's, even though financial controls is here, what we're trying to say is suggestions for cost savings, right? Suggestions for compliance with House Bill 17. We're looking at other things than just what some previous audit has done.
As far as audits go, I beg to differ with you on procedures, and we have to do certain things before they can say whether those financial statements truly reflect the financial condition of that company. And so just saying that they take the figures and write up the report, that just plain isn't true.
Well, the disclaimer in the beginning, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought the disclaimer said, this is correct insofar as the information we received this all from the company. I mean, so there was this big disclaimer in the beginning. Or maybe I misread it.
It says it's management's responsibility for the financial statements.
Yeah, the company's responsible for putting together the financial statements the auditor goes through, and they do tests, et cetera, on all the figures on the financial statements to give them some satisfaction that those are in fact accurate figures. So it's not just putting.
Right, but they're not going to come in and say, hey, you guys can change this or that, or maybe your business expenses are a little high. They're not going to come in and say things that might be cost savings that we would see in the city. They're not going to say that in an audit. That's all I'm saying.
I fully respect the profession they have people like how people work in the county and the department heads. They know they're there day to day. They're working there. They understand what the costs are. They understand why you put it in place. They're efficient in trying to spend money. They're not just buying things, buying coffee, whatever we talk about. They know what their budgets are. They stay close to those budgets. And they try to save as much as they can. I honestly believe those people are professional people. I trust them more because they know the ins and outs of the daily affairs of that company. And somebody on the outside trying to look and say, well, what did you buy that for? Well, you can explain to them, but then they're going to say, you know, it's just unnecessary.
Mark's not going to be communicating those concerns with them. Again, this is whatever he's privy to look at, so that if we have questions, or if the board members have questions, outside of any input that's given by Heber Power, Mark has the ability to give an opinion. That's all. And considering the political climate and what's happened in the last couple of years, I can't understand at all why we're not welcome any kind of tools and things we can include to help anybody be successful.
It's your opinion how you think you can.
I'm not saying it's not. It's obviously my opinion. And that's why I'm trying to
articulate companies. Let's close the discussion on this.
I would like to make a motion that we accept resolution 1214-13 as it stands, so that Mark can have the ability to give an honest evaluation of the information that he can receive in trying to help us understand the situations, and also be able to give help or any sort of suggestions to us as board of directors.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on the motion?
I have some. Go ahead. A couple of things. I think that House Bill 17 is flawed, and I have talked to some people about this, and I know that they're in the process of totally revising it because of those flaws, and I think that will be totally addressed in the next legislature. I don't want to be off something that's not in place. That's the first thing. The second thing, authorizing our city manager to review those things on one hand is fine, but then on the other hand saying that it's the city council's responsibility and desire to do this basically means that as soon as this is passed, there are members of the city council that will say, Mark, I want you to look into this, I want you to look into that, I want you to look into this, and it's going to take an awful lot of his time. I know something about financial matters, and I know that he can't sit down and look at the financial statement and come to a conclusion and make a lot of recommendations without digging deeper into it, which means he would have to go over there and go through the records. And I'm not sure that he would want him in there going through the records. I think that there are certain things that we have to trust, and one of those things is they follow the, as an interlocal entity, they have to be audited every year. You can't have 100% certainty on everything that is said, but you've got to have some trust, and you've got to back off and say, okay, let the board take care of that, and we will trust that they're going to do what is right. And as we have 3 members of the board that are sitting here now that have a 75% vote over there, why do we want our city manager that is already overworked to go over there, and it's going to take an enormous a lot of time to do that? And I just don't agree with that. I think that we have to trust that our board members are going to represent the city well, and they will see that the things are running properly over there. That's the way I feel about it.